Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping ourselves in for what feels like a high-speed masterclass in strategic survival.
I think that's a good way to put it.
We're analyzing the tactical blueprint of Stuart Law, the head coach of Nepal, as he gets his team ready for the sheer scale and speed of the T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
And our goal here is to give you an immediate sort of insider look at the specific traps and, the unique solutions Law is trying to come up with.
And the value of the source material we're looking at is just exceptional.
Right.
Because it's not a look back. We're drawing directly from what Law was thinking during the Nepal Premier League, which gives you this real-time insight into player form, morale, and how he plans to, bridge that massive gap between Nepal and the world's best teams.
So it's the how, not just the what.
Exactly. What you're getting is really a shortcut to understanding the precise pressures facing an associate nation in a huge tournament like this.
It's not just about qualifying anymore, is it? It's about being a disruptor. And Law is pushing his team to adapt to conditions they almost never see, especially because their whole group stage is at one venue.
The Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai.
And that one stadium is going to dictate everything, how they handle pace, how they score on those small boundaries, and how Law manages player mentality. So let's start right there with the arena itself.
Absolutely. Wankhede changes the game completely. Law himself calls it Lords for India. He acknowledges the history, the magnificence. But what really matters for him for the tactics is the pitch.
Okay, so what are the conditions?
It's generally a flat wicket. It's built for batting. It's got that pace, that bounce. And this is crucial. The boundaries are small.
Like IPL scores small.
Astronomical.
Yeah.
You see scores there that are just unbelievable. It's a venue that demands power and rewards raw speed, which, immediately works against what Nepal is usually good at.
Which is more their spin and medium pace variations.
Exactly. That flat, fast track just neutralizes the mystery spin that associate teams often rely on to slow down these powerhouse batting lineups.
So that leads to this really unexpected wrinkle. Law's team is playing all their group games in this one stadium. You would think that consistency, just staying in one place, would be a huge tactical gift.
That's what you'd assume, right? But Law pushes back on that hard. He says, pretty bluntly, I don't think it is an advantage, tactically speaking.
Really?
Yeah. He actually says he would have preferred a bigger ground, something with a bit more in it for the spinners. He knows these conditions just amplify the strengths of teams like England and the West Indies.
So if it's not a tactical advantage, why do it? What's the upside?
It's all about logistics. For a side like Nepal, not having to travel, staying in one place, settling into a routine in a city like Mumbai, that's a huge win.
For team management, for player comfort.
For sure. But tactically, Law is basically turning it into an information-gathering mission. He's using experienced contacts to understand every tiny detail of the venue. The plan is to have a strategy that's, and I'm quoting him here, watertight by the fourth game.
So he's treating the first couple of games as a sort of high-pressure learning curve.
Almost like a training camp in the middle of the World Cup. And he's looking beyond the pitch, too.
Factoring in the other elements.
Right. He mentions the sea breeze, which could offer some swing depending on the time of day, and also the possibility of dew at night.
Which can make it really tough for spinners to grip the ball.
Exactly. It's that level of granular planning because for them, the margins for error are just, they're non-existent.
Okay, so let's move beyond the venue itself and onto the biggest challenge Law identified. The one thing they have to conquer.
Pace.
Pace. Our sources confirm Law's main worry is that their opponents, we're talking England, West Indies, Bangladesh, they will all have bowlers hitting 140 kilometers per hour consistently.
And that speed they just don't see, not in associate cricket.
It's a different game.
It really is. This is the absolute crux of their entire preparation. Law thinks Nepal's traditional strengths, their spinners and medium pacers, he says they'll be okay. But he keeps stressing that the team has to figure out quickly how to negotiate that raw, sustained speed.
Because you can have the best plan in the world.
But if your batters are late on the ball at 145 kph, the plan is useless. It just falls apart.
So how do you find players who can handle that, especially when you don't have the infrastructure to practice against it day in, day out? And here's where it gets really interesting. How does that thread of pace, combined with those flat wickets and tiny boundaries, translate into a specific batting strategy?
It becomes a game of precision. It's not just about power. Law is telling his batters, don't just survive the pace, use it.
Capitalize on the conditions.
Exactly. hit the ball into certain areas of the ground to maximize every shot. Survival means running hard, which he says they're already really good at, but scoring means adapting fast, turning what might be a defensive block into a shot that pierces the gap.
A whole new approach to building an innings.
Totally. They have to rethink everything.
And on the other side of the ball, if the batters are facing extreme pace, what are the bowlers doing to try and fight back on what's basically a highway?
Well, Law mentioned they're always on the lookout for a mystery spinner, but he also pointed to a really specific weakness they've been working on.
Death bowling.
That's the one. It is the ultimate specialized skill in T20 cricket.
For anyone who's maybe a bit less familiar, what exactly are we talking about with death bowling?
It's those last 4 or 5 overs of an innings, the point where batters are just swinging for the fences, trying to get 10, 15 runs and over. It's maximum pressure.
And Law said they identified this as a major problem.
A major technical fault in their system, yeah. Fixing it means being able to execute incredibly precise skills under insane pressure.
Like what? What are those skills?
We're talking about hitting a Yorker at the base of the stumps over and over again, using slow ball variations that actually fool the batter, and just, keeping your cool when you know every single ball is going to be attacked.
And he thinks they're making progress.
He does. He confirmed they are now starting to find a couple of boys who can perform this crucial role effectively.
And finding 2 reliable death bowlers is a game changer.
For any T20 team, let alone an associate nation, it's massive.
So that's a huge shift. Now let's connect those tactics to the people. Law's trying to get these high-pressure skills right, but a lot of the core players who got them to the World Cup are, well, they're underperforming in the domestic league.
The Nepal Premier League, yeah.
So that creates this classic dilemma. Current form versus proven experience. Do you risk taking a rusty side because you're loyal?
And on this point, Law is completely inflexible. He is all in on experience over current form.
He doesn't care about the outside noise.
Not at all. He explicitly says he ignores social media selections. He picks his team based on the skill sets the team needs for the World Cup.
So his argument is all about pressure absorption. But if the challenge is facing 145 kph bowling, shouldn't you want players with the sharpest reflexes, players who are in peak form right now?
It's a calculated risk, but it's all rooted in Law's belief that success at this level is maybe 80% mental.
It's not about the body, it's about the mind.
Completely. His rule is, for the bigger the match, you need the calmer, more experienced heads because they absorb pressure the best. That core squad that won the qualifiers undefeated. In his mind, they've earned the right to be there. They know how to win when it matters most, whatever they're doing in the NPL.
But Law had a very specific reason for why those core players are struggling, and it wasn't technical. It was psychological. Let's get into this idea of mental fatigue.
This, for me, is the most fascinating part of the whole interview. Law says the form dip isn't about ability. He says it's severe mental fatigue.
And you just have to think about the journey they've been on.
Unbelievable. Qualifying undefeated, then beating a full member nation like the West Indies in a T20 series. Those are euphoric, historic moments.
But they're also draining.
Utterly draining. They take a massive amount of sustained mental energy and focus.
And why is that psychological toll maybe heavier for an associate nation?
Because the pressure is constant. Full member nations have deep resources, huge support structures to manage mental load. For Nepal, every single one of those big games is a fight for their existence, a validation of their entire cricket program.
Wow.
Law says the team has, and this is his phrase, become mentally fatigue-leaked.
Leaked.
Yeah, and that they urgently need time off before they hit the training camp hard in January.
So the strategic choice here is actually rest over practice.
Yes, prioritizing mental freshness, trusting that the skill and the experience will come roaring back once the psychological tank is refilled. He's recognizing that their biggest weakness right now isn't technique, it's burnout.
That puts a completely different spin on their prep. Okay, let's pivot to the final psychological piece of this. The underdog role. Law knows everyone expects them to lose. How does he use that?
He leans right into it. He fully embraces it. He acknowledges the reality that, no one really gives you a chance to win a game, but he says he likes being the underdog.
It creates a sense of freedom.
Absolutely. They can play without that heavy burden of expectation.
And he's done this before, right?
Oh.
He has a track record of making this work.
He absolutely does. He was the coach of the USA team that famously beat Pakistan in the last World Cup. That experience shapes everything. His whole philosophy is, if the big teams, like England, 2-time champions, their first opponent, if they take Nepal lightly for even a second,
That's the opening.
that's when they can cause some real damage. The goal isn't to win the whole thing, it's to be unpredictable enough to create pressure when nobody expects it.
And let's quickly touch on what he said about their other opponents, starting with that other associate nation, Italy. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, and Law warns against underestimating them. He says they'll be full of tough nuts.
Why?
Because Italy recruits globally. They have experienced guys who've played high-level first-class cricket in Australia and England. They're a composite team. And in T20, a couple of really good, experienced players can win you a game.
So they have to treat that match with the same intensity.
The exact same respect as a game against a full member, for sure.
And then there's the West Indies. They beat them recently, but Law is being very realistic about the rematch.
Very realistic. He knows the West Indies team at the World Cup will be so much stronger. And, as he says, more aware than the younger team they beat.
But he flips that, doesn't he? He uses that awareness as a psychological tool.
He does. He argues that the fact the West Indies are now aware of Nepal's threat actually puts pressure on them. Again, not on Nepal. The expectation suddenly shifts.
It's on the favored team to not slip up against the known disruptor. So if we pull all this together, Stuart Law's blueprint is, well, it's a calculated gamble. It's all focused on managing that one massive variable, the high pace on flat wickets, while banking on experience and mental freshness over what players are doing right now in the NPL.
That's the perfect summary. He's building a team designed to withstand extreme pressure and pounce on very small, very specific opportunities.
And if they can do that, if they can get those experienced players firing, solve that death bowling problem, and get that watertight strategy working early on at Wankhede,
then they have a real chance to turn that underdog status into actual leverage. Law is basically betting that the opposition's resources can be canceled out by their own internal pressure.
So, what does this all mean? Law knows the West Indies will field a different, more aware team. We've established that. But he insists this puts the pressure back on them. So the big question for you to think about is this. Does that psychological edge, that clever bit of mind gaming, does it truly cancel out the vast difference in strength, talent, and resources? Think about how much Nepal's history of upsetting bigger teams actually contributes to their mental edge. And whether Law's gamble on experience and mental rest will pay off against the relentless, brutal pace of their opposition. That's the strategy for you to mull over until our next deep dive.